Bodhivaṃsa, Mahavamsa, structure and strategic analysis, core definition and function. Bodhivamsa, Bodhivamsa, Mahabodhivaṃsa are comprehensive historical and literary as well as a strategic analysis. Chapter 1. Introduction, Nature and Identity of the Bodhivaṃsa. The Bodhivaṃsa, also known as the Mahabodhivaṃsa, is a significant work within the literary and historical tradition of Theravada Buddhism. Composed in Sri Lanka during the 10th century CE, the text is attributed to the monk Upatissa. Though his historical identity remains obscure and weakly substantiated, the text is written in an elaborate form of Sanskritized Pali and adopts the Kavya ornate literary style, indicating not merely a religious intention but a deliberate effort at aesthetic and intellectual elevation. At its core, the Bodhivaṃsa is a chronicle focused on a sacred Bodhi tree, the tree under which Gautama Buddha attained enlightenment. However, reducing the text to a devotional narrative could be analytically insufficient. It functions simultaneously as literature, historiography, religious propaganda, and institutional memory. It constructs a narrative that connects cosmic Buddhist history with the political and religious landscape of Sri Lanka, thereby embedding the island into the central axis of Buddhist civilization. Historical context and composition. Temporal and political setting. The Bodhivaṃsa was composed during the reign of Mahinda IV, 10th century CE, a period marked by consolidation of monastic institutions and royal authority in Sri Lanka. This era required ideological reinforcement to maintain legitimacy, especially in a context of regional instability and internal fragmentation. The dating of the text relies on later Sinhalese commentaries from the 12th century, which attributes its authorship to Upatissa. The text itself claims to be composed at the request of a monk named Dathanaga, suggesting institutional commission rather than the independent authorship. This indicates that the Bodhivaṃsa is a product of organized intellectual production within monastic networks rather than an isolated literary endeavor. Chapter 2.2 Source Material and Adaptation. The Bodhivaṃsa is explicitly described as an adaptation of an earlier Sinhala work on the same subject. However, it is not a simple translation. Instead, it represents an expansion and synthesis of multiple textual traditions. It draws heavily from the Mahavamsa, incorporates elements from the Samanta Pasadika, and includes unique narrative variants such as alternative versions of Jataka stories. This method of compilation reflects a deliberate strategy, consolidation, as well as consolidating diverse traditions into a single authoritative narrative. By doing so, the text minimizes the imperative fragmentation and centralizes doctrinal authority. Chapter 3 Literary Structure and Narrative Design. Prose verse hybrid composition. The Bodhivaṃsa is primarily composed in prose but concludes each chapter with verses, many of which are derived from earlier texts such like the Mahavamsa. This hybrid structure allows the text to balance the narrative clarity with the poetic authority, reinforcing both accessibility and prestige. The use of the Kavya style further enhances its rhetorical power. This style, characterized by ornate language, metaphor, and elaborate constructions, elevate the text beyond simple chronicle into a work of literary sophistication. Chapter 3.2 Chapter Organization and Content Flow. The text consists of 12 chapters, each contributing to a broader narrative arc. Cosmic Prelude. Recognition of Gautama Buddha by Dipankara Buddha establishes preordained legitimacy. Biographical narrative. The life of Gautama Buddha is recounted, reinforcing doctrinal orthodoxy. Institutional formation. The first Three Buddhist councils are described, emphasizing continuity and preservation of teachings. Geographical transition. The narrative shifts to Sri Lanka, making a strategic relocation of sacred focus. Mission of Mahinda. The arrival of Mahinda signifies the transplantation of Buddhism. Sacred transference. The Bodhi tree is transported from Bodh Gaya to Anuradhapura. Ritual institutionalization. The establishment of the Bodhi Puja ceremony. This structure isn't random, it is designed to move from universal history to localized sanctity, thereby embedding Sri Lanka within the sacred geography of Buddhism. The Bodhi tree is not merely a religious symbol, it is a material anchor of legitimacy. Its transplantation reflects a transfer of sacred authority from the Indian subcontinent to Sri Lanka. The tree becomes a living relic, a tangible connection to a moment of enlightenment. Control over such a relic provides multiple advantages. Religious authority. It validates the island as a center of Buddhist practice. Pilgrimage economy. It attracts devotees, generating economic and cultural capital. Political legitimacy. It reinforces the monarchy's role as protector of the faith. 4.2 Replication and network formation. The distribution of saplings across various locations creates a network of sacred sites. This decentralization doesn't weaken authority, instead, it expands influence. Each sapling serves as a node in a broader religious infrastructure, ensuring that the central narrative remains dominant across regions. 5. Linguistic and intellectual strategy. 5.1 Sanskritized Pali as a medium of control. The Bodhivaṃsa employs a form of Pali heavily influenced by Sanskrit. This linguistic choice is strategic rather than incidental. Pali provides canonical legitimacy. Sanskrit covers intellectual prestige and complexity. The result is a text that is both authoritative and inaccessible to the untrained. This creates a gatekeeping mechanism, restricting interpretation to a literate elite within monastic institutions. 5.2 Beginning of a literary trend. Scholars such as G.P. Mala, Malala Sekara identified the Bodhivaṃsa as marking the beginning of an era of Sanskritized Pali composition in Sri Lanka. This trend continues for centuries, indicating a shift towards increasingly sophisticated and controlled literary production. Institutional and political dimensions. 6.1 Monastic authority. The commission of the text by Dhatanaga suggests that monastic institutions play a central role in its creation. These institutions were not merely religious bodies, they were centers of education, administration, and ideological production. By producing texts like the Bodhivaṃsa, they reinforced their authority and ensured the continuity of their influence. 6.2 Royal patronage and mutual dependence. The association with King Mahinda IV highlight the symbiotic relationship between the monarchy and monasticism. The king provides material support and protection, while the monastic community offers ideological legitimacy. This mutual dependence creates a stable power structure in which religion and politics are deeply intertwined. Chapter 7 Comparative position within British literature. The Bodhivaṃsa must be understood in relation to a major text such as the Mahavamsa and various commentarial works. While the Mahavamsa provides a broader historical narrative of Sri Lanka, the Bodhivaṃsa focuses specifically on the Bodhi tree and its significance. However, the two texts are not independent. The Bodhivaṃsa quotes extensively from the Mahavamsa, reinforcing its authority while also expanding upon it. The intertextuality creates a layered transition in which multiple texts support and validate each other. Chapter 8 Preservation of Alternative Traditions. One of the more subtle aspects of the Bodhivaṃsa is its preservation of narrative elements not found in other sources. For example, it includes variant forms of certain Jataka stories. This indicates that the text is not merely consolidating existing traditions but also preserving fragments of order, possibly marginalized narratives. In doing so, it enhances its own authority by presenting itself as a more comprehensive reposition of knowledge. Chapter 9 Strategic Interpretations Beyond Devotion. 9.1 Narrative as Control Mechanism. The Bodhivaṃsa operates as a tool for controlling historical memory. By defining the origins, transmission, and the significance of the Bodhi tree, it reshapes how communities understand their religious heritage. 9.2 Territorial Sanctification. The relocation of the Bodhi tree to Sri Lanka transforms the island into a sacred landscape. This is not just symbolic, it has practical implications for political authority and cultural identity. 9.3 Elimination of competing narratives. By integrating multiple sources and presenting a unified account, the text reduces the space for alternative interpretations. This centralization of narrative authority strengthens institutional control. Chapter 10 Conclusion Legacy and Significance. The Bodhivaṃsa is a multi-layered text that operates simultaneously as literature, history, and strategy. It is not merely a chronicle of a sacred tree, but a carefully constructed narrative designed to consolidate religious authority, reinforcing political legitimacy, and shape cultural identity. Its influence extends beyond its immediate historical context, contributing to the development of Sri Lankan Buddhist literature and the broader tradition of Sanskritized Pali composition. By embedding Sri Lanka within the sacred geography of Buddhism, it ensures that the island remains central to the religious imagination of Theravada communities. To understand the Bodhivamsa one must move beyond surface level readings and recognize its role as an instrument of power, a vehicle of institutional continuity, and a cornerstone of cultural construction.